Commissioners Kafalas and Donnelly and Commissioner Johnson, who is not here today, we are writing to you and speaking to you on behalf of the citizens of Larimer County with a sincere request that you act to protect the health and safety of the people you represent, as well as the environment we all share. Senate Bill 181 profoundly changed the ability of locally elected governments to act on behalf of the people and redirected the mission of the Colorado Oil and Gas Conservation Commission to prioritize health, safety, and the environment over the continued fostering of oil and gas development in our state. One result of SB 181 is that the COGCC is engaged in an extensive rewriting of its rules regarding wellhead setbacks, air and water contamination, and well reclamation, among others. Another result is that you, our county commission, have selected and engaged an oil and gas task force to make recommendations for the future regulation of the industry in our county. While we have serious concerns about the makeup of the task force and the conditions under which it was selected, we believe that these issues are for another time. We are more concerned that the county is rushing in 6 months to implement regulations that will be written into a 20-year land use plan. It is doing so without vital knowledge and resources and before the COGCC completes its work.
My name is Tom Rhodes, continuing the letter.
Welcome, Mr. Rhodes.
We are writing today to ask you to suspend all existing and future oil and gas permitting until the COGCC finishes revising its rulemaking process next year. We are asking this on behalf of the citizens you represent, many of whom live in the eastern part of the county, who do not own the mineral rights on the land which they live. They are the families who are increasingly and rightly concerned about the effects of an industry that is extracting resources from beneath their homes while putting them at risk for the toxic effects of benzene and other volatile organic compounds in the air they breathe and the water they drink. We are attaching to this letter a listing of peer-reviewed scientific articles that specifically reference the health risks and hazards of these chemicals to the people of Colorado and the Front Range. We urge you to review the entire compendium, which is produced by the Physicians for Social Responsibility, and you'll find this at psr.org. You were elected to represent the people of Larimer County. We are the people who live here, although oil and gas rights that lie beneath our homes increasingly belong to outside companies with executives who live in other parts of the country or the world. While we recognize that the oil and gas industry contributes to our local and state economy, we are deeply concerned to find that oil and gas field workers themselves, those who live and raise their families here, work in jobs that are exempt from even the most basic OSHA requirements. In 2016, oil and gas field workers were the victims of 71% of all mining industry fatalities, and mining is second only to construction in casualty rates. When the Larimer Oil and Gas Task Force makes its recommendations, we fully expect that increased protections for field workers in this volatile industry will be included.
Good morning, Commissioners. My name is Marta Turman. I'll continue reading. Finally, it has come to our attention that a position on the task force may have recently come open. Arsene Jacobin is tentatively moving out of state. We are aware that although 4 physicians with impeccable credentials, Cory Carroll, James Danforth, Adrian Krause, and Mike Tobin, had applied to serve on the Oil and Gas Task Force, not one had been selected. We urge you to appoint one of these physicians with MDs to fill Dr. Jacobin's vacancy. At least one of the 4, we believe, has been attending past task force meetings in the audience. We stand ready to assist you, both the County Commission and the Larimer Oil and Gas Task Force, in promulgating regulations in accordance with the spirit and the letter of Senate Bill 19181. Until such time as the COGCC finalizes its own statewide rules, we ask you to suspend all pending and future oil and gas permits in Larimer County. We ask you to appoint one of the medical physicians who had previously applied to the Larimer Oil and Gas Task Force and we ask you that you give priority to health, safety, and environment of Larimer County and your constituents over outside oil and gas interests. We'll provide you copies of this letter that has been signed by a number of citizens, and we have more coming. It has also been signed on by the Sierra Club, Poudre Canyon Club Group, Climate Justice Ministry of Foothills Unitarian Church, Physicians for Social Responsibility of Colorado, League of Oil and Gas Impacted Coloradans, Fort Collins Sustainability Group, Transition Fort Collins, 350 of Northern Colorado, Community for Sustainable Energy, and we have more groups signing on with us. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you all. You did a great job.
Well, we hope to have a response from you.
Great. Well, we will look at what you have presented and we will respond.
Can we slide these letters across?
Yeah, absolutely. Please do. Got to kind of slide them hard. There, look.
Oh, yeah.
Good work.
One more, and
Yeah.
then this is the slides, and they do not slide.
They're not.
They're waiting.
I got it.
Okay.
Okay. There we go.
Thank you, sirs.
We're resourceful if nothing else.
Tom,
Very
is
good.
there did you provide us with an extra copy for Commissioner Johnson?
Got him.
We have one there, and we will also be emailing this to you so that you can click on the reference.
Very good.
for the
Thank you, sir.
DSR.
Cory Carroll. Hi. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you, Commissioners, for allowing me to talk this morning. I am Cory Carroll. I'm a board-certified family physician who's been practicing in Fort Collins for about 30 years. My job as a physician is to help my patients who are sick, but I also try to help them not be sick. What they put in their body matters. What they breathe matters. Obviously, I've been educating them not to smoke for 30 years. We know that cigarettes are a bad thing. It was interesting that the Surgeon General in the 1960s finally came to the consensus after huge numbers of studies and presented the information to Congress. It was not accepted widely. Even the AMA was not impressed. But fortunately, that information did come out, and we found more and more data. And finally, we are on board. 40 years after that was the Clean Indoor Air Act, when we stated it is not fair for citizens to be exposed to cigarette smoke if they're in a room of people smoking. So we saw the value of not having tobacco be exposed to individuals. The oil and gas industry is a little different story, but there is pollution that is occurring. I'm not going to go into all the details, do not have the time, but I'm going to focus on ozone. The volatile organic compounds that are being produced when these wells are fracked, they are generated during the flame stage and the venting stages. They're being emitted constantly. That is mixing with the nitric oxides that are coming out of our tailpipes. With the sunlight and the inversion that occurs here, we have a problem. We've had a non-attainment zone in this Front Range since 2007. Ozone is bad for my patients with asthma, emphysema, heart disease. It affects the elderly. It affects the children. It affects everybody. When you have a high ozone and you're out exercising, that's very bad for your lungs. So there's many things going on here. The proliferation of oil and gas has contributed to these problems. It is affecting our air quality. And I implore you to understand that if we don't begin to control some of this, it's only going to get worse, and that's going to have huge costs, not only for the health of our citizens, but for the whole process of paying for this. So I implore you to look at this proposal that's being presented to you, and at least let's stop the proliferation of these wells and reevaluate this as we're studying this and keep our environment clean and healthy for our citizens.
Very good.
Thank you.
Thank you, Doctor. So have ozone levels increased in the last decade in Larimer County?
We are now moving towards severe as
What I asked you.
the
Ozone levels increased.
I can't give you the exact data on the numbers. I just know that we are not.
Decreased, frankly. Yes, they have. Oh, yeah, you go ask the public health director from Larimer County.
It is still in a non-attainment zone.
Yeah, we're in non-attainment.
It's
I
kind
don't
of like
argue
saying
that.
we're
Yeah,
having
absolutely.
4 cigarettes in the room
No,
versus
right,
5.
Right. Yes. Somebody's smoking in the room. That's for sure. We both agree on that. Absolutely. Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
Doug Henderson. Welcome. Good to see you again.
Thank you. Morning, Commissioners. I'm Doug Henderson, a resident of Larimer County. Like most people in Larimer County, I want it to be a nice place to live. I value the blue sky and the beautiful environment. I want to breathe clean air. I believe water is too valuable to be turned into toxic waste by fracking. I believe neighborhoods should not be invaded by dangerous, unhealthy industrial facilities. I do not want oil and gas development at the cost of people's health, public safety, environmental quality, and financial liabilities from an industry that does not cover its costs. And I believe in science, which means that I'm extremely concerned about what greenhouse gases are doing to the Earth's climate, with consequences that have huge costs for generations to come. Evidence abounds regarding what contemporary oil and gas development brings. Residential areas get invaded by large industrial operations, people get sick from emissions, property values decline, communities are in an uproar, air and water gets polluted, many spills, explosions, and fires occur, and shale gas production is a major driver of the climate crisis, contributing 1/3 of increased emissions globally over the past decade. Last November, Coloradans voted and brought major changes in the state's leadership. A new governor, new attorney general, major shift in the legislature, with the result that Senate Bill 181 passed, bringing major reform to Colorado's oil and gas law and policy. Here in Larimer County, a new commissioner was elected. In the first oil and gas task force meeting, I was shocked to hear a county staffer refer to Weld County as a model for oil and gas regs. Huh? Weld County is the most heavily drilled and fracked county in Colorado, has a record of failing to protect public health and safety, neighborhoods, schools, the environment, a record of hundreds of spills, of explosions, of oil and gas injuries and fatalities, of boom-bust economics associated with heavy dependence on oil and gas. Oil and gas emissions in Weld County send toxic plumes across local neighborhoods and schools and damage air quality throughout the Front Range, causing dangerous ozone and giving Larimer County some of the worst air quality in the country. It is no secret that politically Weld County is a petrostate, certainly not a model for democracy and good governance. Weld County is the poster example of what we don't want to emulate. As a Larimer County resident, I'm also doubtful how well the task force represents my interests and those of other county residents. 2/3 of task force members work for the oil and gas industry, are service providers to the industry, or land developers with interest in profiting from oil and gas development. 2 members are attorneys in the oil and gas industry, 2 others work for Anadarko, 1 member is a planner for Weld County, a government that has allowed huge oil and gas projects to invade neighborhoods, harming people's health and quality of life and bringing dangers to kids in schools such as at Belo Romero. 4 members are land developers with financial interests in oil and gas development. Will they really prioritize protecting health, safety, environmental quality? And did some of them play roles in fracking Bethka Elementary School in Timnath, where opposition from parents and local residents was ignored? Coloradans spoke last November, and the state has undertaken oil and gas reform. But the suggestion that Weld County should be a model and the composition of the oil and gas task force makes me wonder if county government is upholding the will of voters and the intent of Senate Bill 181 to prioritize public health, safety, and environment.
You did a good job getting in. Thank you. Bryce Schatzel. Hi, Bryce. Good to see you again. Good morning. And maybe I'll just make another comment. I don't mean to be defensive. I don't mean to argue with you. But, a lot of folks here in the Larimer County Health Department, in the State Health Department, local government, elected officials that sit on the North Front Range Metropolitan Planning Organization Board, which is actually the lead planning agency for air quality issues in this region, have worked very diligently over the past decade since we did reach ozone non-attainment to try to develop strategies that could help improve our air quality. So it's a source of pride that we have been, the success we have had has been because a lot of folks have been working together from the state level down to the local level for things like increased tank controls on oil and gas development, tailpipe emissions monitoring on vehicles. A lot of those things that have happened in the last decade have been because we've really taken this seriously and have tried to address the issues. So I didn't mean to offend you, Doctor. I hope I didn't, and I didn't mean to come off as adversarial, but I do feel at least at some level, I feel like good work that has been done. Now you can say we haven't done enough work, but good work has been done at the local level, and I hate to see that it's not at least recognized, and we're not cognizant of some of the really positive efforts that have been made. So I wanted to tell you that before we got too far into this, in case I didn't get a chance to talk to you before you left. So Bryce, good to see you again. How you doing?
Thank you. I'm doing good.
Welcome.
Hello, my name is Bryce. I'm on North Meldrum, and I'm an urban farmer. I personally don't like the term farmer because by definition a farm is an area of land and its buildings used for growing crops and rearing animals, typically under the control of one owner or manager. But due to modern laws and codes, vegetable production and livestock production have been cleaved from each other. This is a great travesty because, as the Savory Institute has shown, with proper management, greater carbon sequestration is achieved when both are integrated. So what am I really? I'm really a vegetable crop productionist. I grow veggies. I guess a lot of people are confused as to what I do exactly. So here it is simply put: as an urban farmer, the average homeowner pays me to grow veggies on their land. This provides me with about half my income. The other half of my income comes from the sales of excess veggies I grow on their land, and the homeowners get a rebate or dividend for their portion of input. I grow veggies for the community. I donated almost, or a little over, 1,000 pounds of food to the mission last year alone. National average statistics show that only about 2% of the population gets their food locally. Larimer County is no different. I saw a PowerPoint in May presented by Poudre Valley Land Co-op that stated in 2008 there were just over 3,000 acres in vegetable production. These are non-commodity crops, not cattle, veggies, other than corn, soy, wheat. In 2018, it was 277. This scares me a lot. And when you talk about oil production on these lands, it becomes very messy, very dirty. Oftentimes these fracking creates spills and other land pollution that then destroys the land permanently for any type of vegetable production or commodity crop production or cattle. Why is this important? Because we know we can make a difference today. The first one, as I stated last month, eat locally. An exorbitant amount of fossil fuels are used for growing, trucking, and shipping food around for consumption. It's unnecessary. We can become much more autonomous and grow our own food. 2, don't use fossil fuels, period. It is destructive to the environment all around, from the extraction to the final burning. 3, keep all organic matter out of landfills. Once organic matter is buried in land, it is polluted with heavy metals and rots in an aerobic state, producing methane gas. Compared to CO2, methane is 21 times worse.
Wrap up, buddy. Thanks.
We have the answers already. Biofermentation can capture the methane for energy production, and I think it is a much better use than creating more wells, more fracking, more production as such.
Very good.
Thank you.
Thanks, Bryce. Good to see you again. And we do have a our landfill is nearing the end of its usable life, and so as part of our new solid waste plan here in Larimer County, we have I think 6 years of usable life left in our existing landfill. Part of that is intensive composting services to take food waste out of the trash stream, and much greater emphasis on recycling. So thanks. That was good advice. Deb Bjork. Hi. Welcome.
Thanks.
Good to see you.
My name's Deb Bjork, and I have been a Larimer County resident for 29 years and
Wow.
owned a business for 22 in Fort Collins. Thanks for allowing me to speak to you today. You've been selected and engaged a task force to make recommendations for future oil and gas regulations in Larimer County, both at the request of citizens and in response to the new law, SB 181. Commissioner Donnelly and Johnson were interviewed for a Loveland Reporter Herald article published February 19th, in which you discussed appointing a task force and the new land use code. Commissioner Johnson had said that there wasn't a deadline, but it was a process that they wanted to take the time to do right. And Commissioner Donnelly, you were quoted as saying, "I wouldn't want to suppose we could do something without an intensive public process, and this should be, you did.
Wow.
And this should be no different.
Too smart for me.
We should hope to get some good rules that protect public health and private land so that we can all live with, and that's the secret. So there's your quote. It's been stated that the task force recommendations, if as approved, are entered into regulations, will go into the 20-year land use plan. This rushed process, which does not have state oil and gas regulations balanced as a backdrop, and does not give adequate time or resources for the task force nor the county to diligently accomplish the task, given the enormity of the rule changes for SB 181, is problematic. The COGCC employees, Mark Morton and his supervisor, Mike Leonard, presented the state's timeline for revision of the oil and gas regulations to our task force at their August 15th meeting last week. They said that the state's regulation is projecting a 1.5-year timeline and beyond to revise the oil and gas regulations to abide by 181. They will approach the revision in a very systematic manner. 4 primary areas of regulation within the first year, air quality regulations after that, and then additional SB 181 regulations, including setback and current other regulations. So they're reviewing the setbacks that had been looked at previously. The state of Colorado has full-time staff and departments reviewing and revising regulations. Meanwhile, our Larimer County Oil and Gas Task Force is attempting to craft recommendations for county regulations in 6 months by volunteers with limited time to dedicate and without knowing what the state regulations will be. In fact, at that task force meeting, 3 of the members voiced their own concerns, where to focus, whether they were trying to encompass all of 181, and clearly looked unsure of what direction, and they're supposedly halfway done. I think we have the cart before the horse. We have serious concerns about oil and gas industry-laden makeup of the task force, and now there are additional concerns about the rushed and potentially industry-slanted recommendations that might come forth, especially given the weightiness of how these regulations will be used and inserted into a 20-year land use plan. The state has made it clear that 181 is a basement below which the county-city regulations may not fall, and how the task force can possibly know where that basement is without those state regulations being done is not possible. I ask you to wait for the state regulations to be completed and pause before you take rushed recommendations and insert any part of them into a 20-year land use plan. Thank you.
Thank you, Deb. Thanks for coming down this morning. Ed Behan. Hi. Welcome.
Good morning, Commissioners Donnelly and Kafalis. My name is Ed Behan, and I moved to Fort Collins 3 years ago with my wife Pamela when she retired from an academic career teaching sociology in Texas and Louisiana. She had been a nurse prior to that, and we had lived in and around Boulder, Colorado, where she secured her PhD at CU. We looked forward to our eventual return to the Front Range, and we selected Fort Collins in part because of its reputation as a forward-looking city with a serious environmental agenda. Since arriving, we realized we had moved from one oil patch to another, and it is troubling to say the least. We have seen the damage poorly regulated oil and gas development can cause, as seen in the coastal wetlands of Louisiana. We hope to forestall a similar outcome in Colorado. I have concerns about the composition of Larimer County's Oil and Gas Task Force and worry that the push for the county's regulatory structure is entirely too hasty. Recent changes to the COGCC's mission and the power granted to local jurisdictions for both control and input to the permitting process are a gift to our county. We need to embrace it and utilize it responsibly. I see no need to rush through our own regulations when the state-level process may take over a year to complete. Our own rules should be at least as stringent as those the COGCC end up enacting, if not more so. I think hitting pause right now and putting a good deal more thought into our enforcement protocols is the very least we should do. Therefore, I support a temporary suspension of oil and gas drilling applications pending in Larimer County until the Colorado Oil and Gas Conservation Commission complete their own rulemaking process. Thank you for your consideration.
Very good. Thank you, Ed. Elizabeth Hudetz. Hi. Welcome.
Well, thank you. These are for you guys.
Gotta slide them hard.
Yeah.
Great, good work.
Thank you. I'm Elizabeth Hudetz, and I'm here with Larimer Alliance and Fort Collins Sustainability Group, but I speak as a citizen. SB 181 gives us the power to put health and welfare over the monetary profits of oil and gas. We must seize this opportunity to stop the destruction of life as we know it on our fragile planet. The process of fracking is destructive in its nature. It uses precious water that cannot be reused because it's full of VOCs and is radioactive. The land must be remediated when they are through. There's not enough industry money to cover what they'll already leave in their wake. Matt Lepore said orphan wells cost $85,000 to cap with cement that cracks, and with 4,000 orphan wells currently, that's $340 million. With 50,000 to 70,000 producing wells, orphan wells, we will pay up to $6 trillion. Can we afford even one more? And water. We give it to industry for pennies on the dollar compared to what citizens pay, and it can't be reused. It must be stored in abandoned wells. In Oklahoma, 3 earthquakes a year has become 3 a week due to fracking. Financial gains. Deborah Rogers, financial advisor to Obama on fracking, says it's a Ponzi scheme, a shell game, and like the housing bubble, it will burst. From a recent article in the New York Times, we're seeing sources of funding dry up. They don't have that get out of jail free card like the last time. Example, in Windsor, their stock has plummeted. Extraction, the oil and gas company in Windsor, their stock has plummeted from 10 years ago at $24. It's now around $4 a share. Taxes to finance schools. The Colorado State website shows that in 08-09 they paid over $300 million in severance taxes. In 16 and 18 they paid a little over $500,000. This will not support our school system. With 4 times as many jobs in alternative energy and windmills and solar panels don't explode, fossil fuels are limited, so we must go fossil free eventually anyway. So we need to start now while there's still a planet left to save. And we're already in global warming.
Very good.
It has tipped. And it's up to you guys. We know you're one of us. We know you care about the planet. I'm hoping you also
I'm not
will
one of you?
consider- Well, I will just...
I'm a member of the human race as well.
Well, I don't want it to be remember. I'd like it to be consider the human race and the planet.
Very good.
I'm just, yeah, that is my hope. I have 15 more seconds.
I know you do.
So I
Believe me.
watched you reading that, and I hope you take everything into consideration. We are the people you represent, and we already voted for a moratorium. I'm just talking Fort Collins. We had a moratorium in 2013, and it was to hold off on fracking until we knew the benefits or the detriments, and we found them out. There's tons of examples, studies, over 15,000. Anyway.
Very good.
Thank
Thank you.
you.
Thank you for coming down, Elizabeth. We appreciate your passion. Is there anyone else in attendance who would like to make public comment at this time? We'd invite you to come up, give us your name, and give us your comments. No need to sign up. If you came down and you want to speak, come on up. No? Seeing none? All right, very good. Thanks, everyone, for coming out. We're going to close public comment. We're going to move on to approval of the minutes for the week of August 12th, 2019. Commissioner Kafalis.
Yes. So moved to approve the minutes for the week of August 12th, 2019.
Very good. We have a motion. All those in favor signify with an aye.
Aye.
Aye. That motion has passed 2-0. Minutes have been approved. Brenda Jemison, we will wait just 10 seconds for people who want to get out of here to get out. But Brenda Jemison, our business operations manager, is going to review the draft schedule for the week of August 26, 2019. Thanks, everyone, for coming. All right, good. So what are we doing?
All right, next Monday, August 26th at 10 a.m., you have a work session regarding the 2019 through 23 strategic plan. At 12 o'clock p.m., Commissioner Kafalis will attend the City-County Poudre School District Liaison meeting in the Lake Loving Conference Room on the second floor. At 1:30 p.m., you have a community development work session with Lori Cadridge, the Interim Director of Community Planning, Infrastructure, and Resources. At 3 p.m., you have the land use items with the Development Review Team in the hearing room on the first floor. On Tuesday, August 27th at 9 a.m., you have administrative matters. That's this meeting here in this room. At 1:30 p.m., you have administrative direction to county management at the Sprague Lake Conference Room on the second floor. At 7 p.m., Commissioner Kofalos will attend the Estes Park Town Board meeting at the boardroom in Estes Park. On Wednesday, August 28th at 7 a.m., Commissioner Kofalos will attend the North Fort Collins Business Association meeting at the Rocky Mountain Innosphere in Fort Collins. At 10 a.m., Commissioners will hold a public hearing to create the Hillsdale Drive Local Improvement District. At 1:30 p.m., you have a work session with the Ag Advisory Board regarding the Land Evaluation Site Assessment Tool. At 2:30 p.m., Commissioners may participate in interviews for the Board of Appeals. At 7 p.m., Commissioner Donnelly may attend the Fair Board meeting at the McKee 4-H Youth and Community Building in Loveland. On Thursday, August 29th at 9 a.m., Commissioners Donnelly and Kofalos will attend the Colorado Division of Housing 2019 Outreach and Training Meeting at the Fort Collins Senior Center in Fort Collins. At 5 p.m., Commissioner Johnson may attend the Fort Collins Connection Launch Party at the Lincoln Center here in Fort Collins. At 6 p.m., Commissioner Kofalos may attend the ARC of Larimer County's annual meeting and dinner at the Drake Center in Fort Collins. On Friday, August 30th, at 2 p.m., Commissioner Kofalos will attend a tour and meeting for the Loveland Food Bank in Loveland. That would be all we have for the week.
Very good. Questions? Yeah, Commissioner?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Brenda. I just had a question about on Tuesday, August 27th, I'm going up to Estes Park. Just
Yes.
me? Wow. To what end?
This will be to talk about the proposed half-cent sales tax.
Ballot measure.
Oh, I imagine I'll be accompanied by some qualified staff.
Yes, you will be.
Oh,
Maybe some of them even in this room. Who
Well,
knows? Somebody, yeah, we'll have somebody.
thank you for clarifying that, Brenda.
You're welcome. I'll check on the list and I will let you know who's going with you.
It's fine. I always like to get in the mountains.
Okay.
You're the A-team, man. You're our A-team.
Yes, I am.
I'm the JV. I'm the scrub. All right.
But we're all members of the human race,
You
aren't we?
bet. At least I thought I was. Anyway, great. Thank you, Brenda. Move on to consent agenda.
Oh, that's me again.
Today, one recommended denial of an abatement, a drainage agreement between Larimer County and the Genesis Project, Fort Collins, an agreement for professional services between Larimer County and Rock Solid Solutions Corporation, geohazard mitigation services, conveyance of a utility easement as a deed, one resolution appointing arbiters to hear appeals of the Larimer County Board of Equalization decisions, three miscellaneous items: funding for ongoing cleanup costs at 860 4th Street Southeast in Loveland, a request for approval to enter upon lands to do weed mitigation, and recommended appointment to the Red Feather Lakes Planning Advisory Committee. Commissioner Falls, would you like to remove any of these items from the consent agenda for additional information?
I would not, Mr. Chair.
Okay, and you probably don't know what the costs. Without I can look, but the cleanup costs, the additional cleanup costs on the. Do either you, Eric or Lori, do you guys know, or Leslie, do you know?
Sorry, I don't know the exact costs. I believe Karen Leslie Ellis, Community Development Director, she had presented this information to you at a prior work session, and I don't have the figure with me.
Very good. Okay, I think our initial costs were about $160,000, and I think this is additional, maybe perhaps $40,000.
That's yes.
Approximately.
I think it's a not to exceed
for additional
40.
cleanup. Okay, very good. Would you like to remove any of these items, Commissioner, from the consent agenda?
No, sir.
Very good. I'd look for a motion.
I move to approve the consent agenda as published.
Very good. We have a motion. All those in favor signify with an aye. Aye. That motion has passed 2-0. Consent agenda is approved. Commissioner's guests. Do you have a guest this morning?
No, but I'm thinking I might bring some guests next time.
Oh, good. I can't wait. More of your people. All right. Eric Freed is here. Alteration of building permit fee, table 1A, to include short-term rentals. This is exciting stuff.
Very exciting stuff.
Eric, welcome.
Thank you, Commissioner Donnelly, Commissioner Kafalos. As you know, we've discussed at work sessions that there are new land use code and building code regulations set to go into effect September 1st for short-term rentals across Larimer County. The point of this is simply to make a small amendment to our adopted building permit fee table 1A to have a set fee for the cost of the building permits for these short-term rentals. That fee table is adopted by the Board of Commissioners. It's only gone up with cost of living increases for many years. I think the last time we made a change to it is when we added a set fee for vacation homes within the Estes Valley, and that's a $200 set fee. but this is outside the Estes Valley, and if we don't have a set fee for these, we would have to charge a fee based on the valuation of the work, changing it from a single-family home to a revenue-producing short-term rental, which even if we took a very modest valuation and said that was worth $25,000 in additional valuation, the fee would be something like $430. So what we're suggesting instead is a simple set fee of $300 for converting the home to a short-term rental. That's more than within the Estes Valley. Experience has shown that it's taken more time than we had originally anticipated to issue the permits, review the plans, do the inspections. Plus, there's additional travel costs when you're looking at countywide rather than concentrated in the Estes Valley. So that's the proposal, simply to add line 11 to building permit fee table 1A. And if you approve, that will go into effect September 1st along with the new building code regulations. Did you have any questions or comments?
John, do you have any questions?
Thank you, Eric. Thanks for the presentation. I'm remembering when we discussed the strategy, the transition from going to not having any standards for short-term rentals to moving effective September 1st. We talked about outreach, and we talked about, if I'm remembering right, Eric, and you'll help me out here, some kind of a phased-in process. Could you speak to that and how this fee, I know this is on the building code side, how this fee fits into with that?
Yeah, basically, the between now and the end of the year, we're processing about 25 to 30 vacation home short-term rental permits of people who've already been in touch with us and want to legalize their short-term rental. And then later in the year, we'll send a letter out to the entire community and solicit everyone to come in and let them know what the rules are. We've been developing educational materials. We have a website that's ready to go live. We've got all the handouts coming. I think we were going to come to you at another time and ask for approval of our transition program. The idea is that between now and the end of next year, we would have a 20% reduction in the fee. So this will go in the fee table as $300, but we'll only charge 80% of that through the end of next year. And we'll only charge 80% of the planning fees for both public site plan review and minor special review. And then after the end of 2020, it would be the normal fee for the next year. And after that, there would be a penalty fee. So we would incentivize people to come in, and then we'd penalize them if after 2 years they still haven't made any attempts to legalize their short-term rental.
Thank you. That's what I was thinking.
So, Eric, am I correct, based on your testimony, that you believe the actual cost to do to process the building permit will be more than $300?
No, we think it'll be more than the $200 that we were charging for the ones in Estes Park. So we raised it a little bit, but we kept it a fairly modest fee for the conversion.
But you feel like this is all inclusive and will fully cover the cost of doing the building permit?
On the building permit side, yeah. There's a separate planning fee for the
Yes.
planning application, et cetera.
Yes, because I mean, I don't know if everybody here, there's not anybody left. I was going to say, you're 100, well, I mean, Marta, you're here, but you know all this stuff already. But you're 100% funded by your fees. You don't receive general fund support.
Correct.
For the
So we
services
have to
you
be
provide.
self-supporting.
So it's really important that the fee be commensurate with the actual cost of providing the service. Otherwise, folks who do a kitchen remodel or an addition on their home and pay those fees are going to be subsidizing these short-term vacation fees. And so I want to make sure that the cost is really the fully burdened cost.
That's what we believe. It's
Okay.
an estimate, obviously.
Very good.
Right.
And I guess we'll look at it in a year if it's not.
We can always, adjust the fees.
Okay. And I think you've developed a good strategy here where you try to incentivize people to come in quickly and not let this languish. We've seen some of that in the Estes Valley where folks have kind of had to be drugged to get into compliance. And so I think that's probably a good reasonable strategy that you've developed here.
Thank you.
So I'll be supportive. Commissioner, would you have any other questions or comments?
I do not, Mr. Chair.
I'd look for a motion.
Thank you. I move to approve the addition of line 11 to the building permit fee, table 1A, to include a $300 fee for short-term rental conversion permits.
Very good. We have a motion. All those in favor signify with an aye.
Aye.
That motion is passed 2-0. Thanks, Eric.
Thank you, Commissioners.
County manager update. What's going on in the county manager
I don't
world?
have anything today.
Great. That's the best report we've heard all day. Commissioner activity reports. What were you up to, John?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I think I'll pass. It's just a normal week in the life of your average county commissioner, trying to stay connected to folks in and doing the work that needs to be done.
Wow, really? Okay, well, let me just check and see if there's anything I need to report to you. No, only that it's with great sadness that I report that to you, Commissioner, that my only daughter and my baby, my precious baby, started middle school yesterday. It was her first day of middle school. It was one of the most trying events that's ever happened to me, because she's truly. I had to acknowledge that she truly is going to grow up one day. So I was on pins and needles. I was a total basket case.
Mr. Chair, thank you for sharing that. I'm glad you've recovered from that. And indeed, those of us who have kids and those of us who have grandkids, the time goes by quickly and they grow up really fast.
Very, very true. Very true. We love them dearly. All right. If you checked the agenda, we had modified it yesterday afternoon. But if you have the old agenda or you looked earlier, you would see an executive session to discuss district court decision in the Thompson group versus the Board of County Commissioners and Colson Excavating. We're gonna actually hold that executive session next week when the full Board of Commissioners can be here to hear the report from our county attorney. So we will not have any legal matters this morning. Lorinda, is there any further business to come before the Board of County Commissioners today?
There is not.
Very good, and the board will stand adjourned. Thanks everyone for coming out.